to really switch gears now and go back to AP English. Okay. So I remember when I was taking AP English, and I don't think I did that great. There's this concept that did stick with me that I think about when it comes to storytelling, which is pathos, ethos, and logos. So really quick, pathos is sort of like the emotional connection that you feel as part of a story. Ethos is the credibility of the author who's delivering the story, and they're an authority on maybe telling the story. And then logos is the logic, right? So in my world as a VC, pathos is, I like getting emotional connections from like, why is this like a core passion of yours? Why are you like a missionary in trying to solve the given problem, startup founder? Ethos is like, what is your background to show that you have the credibility to actually create this? Like, are you a scientist or pharmacist that's trying to create like a COVID vaccine or something like that? I want to see what kind of authority you have. And then logos is the logic, like what is the opportunity? So pathos, ethos, logos. I know it's been a while since either of us took AP English, but I wonder if these are elements that your team also considers as elements of a good story, because this is so important for me when I do fundraising or even assessing a founding team. What does it look like for you in your realm of running HackerNoon?
Cool. Yeah, that's the Greeks. They always come back to the Greek words. Whenever, when in doubt, just go deeper.
It makes you sound smart, at least.
I mean, my dad was a pathologist, so I always pathos. Being the studying of suffering. Is also how I've kind of looked at it a little.
Oh, interesting.
Has shaded my view a little bit. I mean, who in the ethos and trusting people. Who's writing the story is huge for us. It's just who is the biographer. And it comes, okay, so we'll get submissions. They'll say, hey, I'm with this company. I want to publish my announcement. It's like, who owns the content? Is it a company or is it a person? Okay, if a company owns the content, now you have to talk about the company as the author because they own it. It's theirs. You may have written it, but if the company owns it, it's theirs. So, and that means it's trusted in a different way. Because if I say the company is the author, you understand this is company news by the company, and it's not an individual's opinion. Because it's gone through the process that marketing content does at a company. So I think the who of relating to the story is essential. Who is the author is just, and then that's something where like I think we're honest by saying if it's already appeared on a company blog, it has to be the company as the author because it's theirs. And it's biased to say it's David. Well, not really, because it's HackerNoon that owns the content, and that analogy. So, what makes a good story? Logic in it becomes with a lot of the how-to and the technical side of it, So I guess if you look at every site and you kind of move it towards pathos, lothos, or egos, we're probably between logos and ethos. So that would be my guess. But I didn't make AP English. I wasn't in high school. I wasn't good enough to be an AP English. I was in the AP Maths.
Well, I mean, HackerNoon is a little bit different, right? Because this isn't like this is very different from like, let's say, long form journalism from like the Atlantic or something, right? Where you're like opining about like, some sort of like societal change thing. I mean, there's some elements of that too. And this is actually something
I opine occasionally. Every now and then we opine.
Yeah, there's some of that, but I've really liked the purest kind of rationality behind like the writers, right? Like they're often engineers, at least the ones that I read about. But this actually is kind of an extension of this question, which is, do you find, and this is not necessarily a HackerNoon specific question, but like in storytelling, just generally in our industry, is there a little bit too much logos? And I'll give you an example of this, like. Some of the stuff like in like Web3, a lot of times they end up being like highly technical, like, well, okay, here's like some quantitative strategy for like why this like thing is going to change this way, or like market adoption. Like it's good and it seems credible and I appreciate it, but it's not like a great story, right? Like I'm curious about like, what my mom is going to do with this stuff when like, are we become like the default standard for like storage and things like that. And I do think there is a story there, but I guess like, HackerNoon does index a little bit more logos because I think maybe the audience that you're serving. But yeah, just generally, is there too much logos?
Generally, I think people should be betting more on ethos. I think your assumption is pretty much right, and they want to see the human on the other side of the screen. And especially as AI is growing and it's in people's minds more, like knowing that the real human is there and that human connection is going to keep being worth more. So I think if your stories are very heavy, if you say, hey, I don't know if I should post that thing about what I did with my kid. You know, it's like, oh, usually I post my business stuff here. And then you see like, oh, this post went viral not because it's about my business. It's about like they recognize that, oh, I'm a CEO and a human. And I'm not, you know, it's like just recognizing that you're a human now, I think goes a long way in this trust of your business and your story. So I think if when where we fit in is a lot more like we're growing people's careers, you know, like this is they're documenting how they did something or why they did something, and it comes back to their business, but it's a story around their business. So I mean, what do you think? Are you seeing anyone like business leaders whose kind of updates do you like reading right now? Like who what kind of business leaders are you reading?
So it's interesting because I don't really read that much business stuff. So you and I are in some ways like opposite worlds. Like I do love I'm not gonna say this enough. It's just like I love reading HackerNoon articles if I need to learn something like a little bit more technical, because I do think that the long form craft is something I just enjoy. But like much of my like personal study is actually usually on the pathos side of things. So here's the reason why. When you're a pre-seed stage investor like myself, or like an angel, or anyone dealing with early stage, you have to get comfortable making decisions when there's no data. Like it's like me and David, we're starting a company together. We're gonna like create some sort of like AI writing tool or something like that. We might have Ethos. So like David could say like I'm building this company for a long time, and Eric like had media businesses before this too. That's why we're here. But there isn't like any like LTV to CAC ratios, like 5-year trailing EBITDA, like none of the stuff that demonstrates like clear product market fit exists yet. And it's more of a bet on like this is a team that can build something interesting. And largely that gets answered by how they envision constructing the company, which, yeah, it has like logos in there too, but a lot of it's sort of like that pathos of just like, you know, I was working on HackerNoon, or Eric was working on this media business for so long. And like the thing that we always struggled with was like this one thing that kept on blocking our team. And we figured out a solution for that one thing. And then we realized like if we do this, we can unleash like millions of people who could be great writers on their own right to share like what's inside their minds. It's something along those lines. So a lot of fiction for me. A lot of stand-up comedy is frankly like one of the, I think, best forms of pathos driven storytelling.
I did John Mulaney's last night.
No way, really. That guy has been on a journey. Okay, so just a quick stuff like his like abuse, drug abuse, and like all that stuff, his recovery.
Oh yeah, the most recent special walks you through the whole thing.
Yeah, it's
just going into rehab, what it's like coming out.